Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. The much-awaited special parliament session has commenced today. Parliamentarians bid a farewell of sorts to the old parliament building and shared some nostalgic memories. From tomorrow onwards, on the occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi, the proceedings will shift to the new parliament building, which was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on May 28 this year. According to government sources, the legislative business during the special session in the new parliament will commence from a day after, which is September 20th in the new building. The tentative list of the agenda for the special session includes 4 bills, but there's a buzz over a surprise legislation which might be tabled in this special session in the new parliament. And this surprise legislation can be the Women's Reservation Bill, which seeks to reserve 1/3 of all seats for women in Lok Sabha. Now, many parties, including the Congress, have been pushing for this legislation, and not just historically, but also ahead of this special session, possibly preempting the move by the government. There is likely to be a big fight over credit if this bill gets tabled and passes. Remember, the Women's Reservation Bill has been taken up in Parliament multiple times in the last 3 decades, but has never managed to pass. That's because it needs a special majority for clearance. Without the support of 2/3 of parliamentarians, the bill cannot be passed in any house. Another reason it hasn't passed is because of the differences in the stance of parties in coalition governments of both the UP and the NDA before that have tried to table it and pass it. This time, there's a real possibility that if the government was to table this, it can get passed because ruling BJP already has the numbers in Lok Sabha, and in Rajya Sabha, 2 major political parties are supporting the bill. In fact, most political parties may not want to be seen as opposing it anymore. So will the Women's Reservation Bill eventually become a law? Is it an idea whose time has come? We'll take that question to our guests in just a bit. But first up, let me take you through the history of this Women's Reservation Bill. This bill was first tabled in 1996 by then H.D. Devagowda government in Lok Sabha. So remember, it's almost 30 years that the governments have been pressing for this. But at that time, this bill lapsed with the dissolution of the Lok Sabha in 1996. It was also referred to a Geeta Mukherjee panel, which was formed in 1996, which made 7 recommendations overall for a bill like this. Now then in 1998, the Women's Reservation Bill was reintroduced by the Vajpayee government. This time, the bill failed to get support and therefore lapsed again. And then from 1999 to 2003, Vajpayee-led NDA government reintroduced this bill multiple times. And every time, the bill failed to get clearance from Lok Sabha. In other words, the majority was never in favor, certainly not a 2/3 majority. In 2008, this bill was tabled in Rajya Sabha, this time by UPA 1. Some of the suggestions made by the Geeta Mukherjee panel were also included in this new draft. And then in 2010, the bill was finally passed in Rajya Sabha. But as it stood, it actually lapsed in Lok Sabha. It again couldn't get the numbers that were required. Now also take a look at the parties that have opposed at least some sections of the Women's Reservation Bills that have been brought in Parliament over the years, as I mentioned. And not all of these parties oppose the idea directly or completely. Some of them oppose certain clauses as were presented in the past. So one of them is, of course, Uttar Pradesh-based regional party, Samajwadi Party, that has historically opposed it. Rashtriya Janata Dal, also from Bihar, has opposed it. Janata Dal United from Bihar has opposed it. Bahujan Samaj Party, BSP, led by, of course, a woman in Mayawati, has opposed it. Jharkhand Mukti Morcha is another party that has opposed it. Until 2010, SP and RJD asked that the government should restrict the reservation to 20% and not take it up till 33%. And all these parties have been demanding that the reservation for SC/ST community should happen in the seats reserved for women. So what is likely to happen is that from the seats that are reserved for SC/ST community, that some of them could be part of the 33% if eventually this bill becomes a reality. Let me also take our viewers through what could be the arguments in favor or against a Women's Reservation Bill. Some people tend to be a little bit circumspect about introducing new reservations. You know, already the topic of reservation is a much debated, very hotly contested topic in India. But as it comes to the Women's Reservation Bill, let me take you through some of the arguments that have been made historically. Of course, those in favor backed for it because this bill promotes gender equality in politics. Some would argue a much needed feature that is lacking currently. But those against it also talk about that qualified candidates, including male candidates, may lose the opportunity from certain seats, that overall reservations hit merit more than anything else. Now, those in favor also argue that the bill will break stereotypes about women in leadership roles, just like we expect women to break, glass ceilings in other professions. That is, a push is required in politics as well. But those against it also say that gender is not the same as a caste group, for example. So therefore, it should not be seen as an area where reservations need to be brought in, even though other reservations exist, especially SC/ST reservations in Indian politics. Finally, those in favor say that this will align India more with world norms and standards. Currently, globally speaking, elected female representatives are much lower in India than global standards. But people also argue that if you reserve seats, it will actually lead to dummy or proxy candidates being put up who happen to be women but are not going to be the best candidates that can be put up from those seats, or actually are even in control of their seats. With that, the big question we're asking today is this: Women's Reservation Bill, is it finally an idea whose time has come? We'll take that forward with our guests.
ये सत्र छोटा है, लेकिन समय के हिसाब से ये बहुत बड़ा है। ऐतिहासिक निर्णयों का एक सत्र है।
सभी की इच्छा है कि महिला रिजर्वेशन का बिल आना चाहिए और महिलाओं को देना चाहिए जो ड्यू है।
इनका पास बहुमत है और ऑर्डिनेंस पे ऑर्डिनेंस ये करते जा रहे थे, तो ये महिला रिजर्वेशन बिल, विमेंस रिजर्वेशन बिल विद फुल मेजॉरिटी अभी तक क्यों नहीं हुआ, यही प्रश्न है।
ह्यूमन रिजर्वेशन बिल पार्लियामेंट में आना चाहिए और सबका समर्थन के लिए हम लोग सारा भारतवर्ष में हर मुख्यमंत्री के पास नवीन बाबू भेजे थे, हमारे मिनिस्टर डेलीगेशन जो है हम लोग गए थे। हम लोग तो बहुत दिन से हमारा ये डिमांड है।
पहले भी मीटिंग्स में डिमांड हुआ है, गवर्नमेंट अपने एजेंडा से चलता है और अप्रोप्रिएट टाइम में अप्रोप्रिएट डिसीजन होगा।
Let's go across to our guest joining us. Charu Pragya is from the BJP. Dr. Vishnu Prasad, Congress MP, is also joining us. CA Pradeep Bhati is from the Samajwadi Party. And Professor Geeta Bhatt will be with us in just a bit. Khalikur Rahman, leader of the BRS, is also joining us. Let me begin with Charu Pragya first. A lot of people would be wondering, and while of course you will say these are just speculations at this stage, this is not officially part of the agenda that the government has tabled. But if we were to take that the Women's Reservation Bill was to be tabled, a lot of hectic activity is taking place. Even as I speak, a cabinet meeting is underway. Why now, Charu?
So yes, Shivani, I'm glad you mentioned that, because as of now, all these extra bills which are continually being discussed are mere speculation. But I also want to state that the fact that women need reservation to be in the parliament, or that we have to work on putting together a quota, is something which has been a part of my party's manifesto for a very long time. This is something that we are committed to doing, not just women empowerment, but women-led empowerment. And we have started for that, started working towards that by ensuring that we are a political party and the only one in the country where we have a 33% reservation for women for party posts. And I think that has made a lot of difference, because women have a say and a place at the decision making table. Also, let's remember that parliament is a reflection of our society, and many a times the fact that the participation of women is lower in governance and in politics is also indicative of the fact that the participation of women is low, whether you're an architect, whether you are at a senior position in a news channel like yours, whether you're a judge, a surgeon, so on and so forth. And this is something that my government has been working on changing. We are working at the the crux of the problem. So whether it is making sure better education opportunities are available, or whether it is making sure good nutrition is available to women, a longer maternity leave if you're a working woman, we are making an environment which makes it conducive for women to reach the highest echelons in governance.
No, but Charu,
this reservation bill needs to be introduced, and this.
No, one, because we're running those visuals that were coming in from the cabinet meeting, which is being chaired by the Prime Minister, and we'll continue to do so. The second question I want to ask you, before I go across to some of the opposition voices, Charu, is that, you know, the opposition is raising that point even today, that there's a lot of buzz about this could happen, that could happen, as far as the special session is concerned. And there is an agenda on the table, but everybody fears, and I'm using that word deliberately, that some surprise could happen, and the opposition certainly doesn't like the fact that they're not in the know of what could happen. The fact that there's a lot of buzz going around this bill or that bill, particularly the women's reservation bill, don't you think that's not right? That if this bill was to be tabled, everybody should be aware of it?
Absolutely, Shivani. I'm in agreement with you. See, also we are a party which is very vocal about the women's reservation bill. It's not that we've ever shied away from speaking about it. But the opposition is habitual when it comes to rumour mongering and fear mongering.
No, this is not just opposition rumour mongering. No. Charu, it's not opposition rumour mongering or fear mongering. And first of all, there is no fear mongering as far as the women's reservation bill is concerned. But the point is that from the moment the special session has been announced, there is a lot of buzz first because there was no agenda. Now there's an agenda, but there is some out of syllabus, as they say, stuff being discussed. Why is it that the government doesn't give clarity? For example, today this news is big that a women's reservation bill could be tabled. Why not clarify?
So, Shivani, first of all, let me make it very clear that the government has given an agenda for this session, this special session, and this special session is critical because it marks a transition in Indian democracy. We are moving from the old to the new. We will be entering the new building on a very auspicious day tomorrow, and that's an important part of the agenda. Even on a day like this, the opposition chooses to engage in negativity instead of rejoicing in the fact that this is where we have arrived as a nation. This is the journey that we are looking forward to making in the days and years to come. But instead of doing that, we have an opposition which is still continually rumour mongering. I'll get back to the women's reservation bill. So, if this was being introduced, I'm sure it would have been on the agenda of the House. But that being said, the last time the agenda was given to the opposition, right, did they ever bother to engage in any of the voting, any of the discussions at all? They did not. They staged a walked out. They did not care that important business of the House was being conducted. This mattered to the citizens of this country. They couldn't be inside to vote for it. So now when you talk of out of syllabus, you are not even properly prepared when you've had the syllabus for a very long time. You'd rather not just
I'll come back. I'll now focus on the women's reservation bill because that's fundamentally the issue I'm discussing today. Let me go across to Dr. Vishnu Prasad of the Congress Party. Now, the Congress Party has also been a long-time votary of a women reservation bill. They've tried to table it under UPA, and previous governments have done so. I've listed those occasions. You would fundamentally be in approval and also in support if the government was to bring this women's reservation bill, even if it turned out to be a surprise.
Absolutely. First of all, I would like to answer our beloved friend from BJP. She made it very clear. The absolute agenda for this special session is moving from the old building to the new building. So, there itself the question of women reservation bill will be introduced or not is a big question mark, and it is very clear. And second thing is, last session we were talking about, we are demanding for a discussion on Manipur issue where the women are brutally killed, and you are talking about women reservation bill. So when you when you didn't answer for the discussion, when you are not ready for the discussion about Manipur issue, then why are you talking about women reservation bill? See, for Madam Sonia Ji, the flagship bill is women reservation bill. In 2008 itself, it was passed in Rajya Sabha, and it was objected heavily by various other parties. And now also we are telling we want women empowerment just by giving reservations. I am very sorry to say, what happened to our first citizen of India, Draupadi Murmu? Okay, you have elected her, you have chosen her as a president of India. We all appreciate and we welcome it also. She being a woman, and especially from a tribal community, we honor her. At the same time, what is the hurry for our Honorable Prime Minister to inaugurate the new Parliament building? Is it not right that her presence leave that she inaugurates a new parliament building.
Okay.
As a first citizen of India, she should have inaugurated it, but for various reasons, she was ignored. She was not even invited because she was not in India at that time. And hurriedly, after 2 months of inauguration, now only we are going to the building. Why? In a hurry, the Prime Minister has to inaugurate. This is the respect you give for women.
I
in
get
India.
that. I just,
This is
you
what
know,
BJP
Dr.
does.
Vishnu, I
Just
was
for law-
hoping that we
just
can
for
maybe
namesake-
move forward from some of these points you have made, the Congress party has made in the past, and speak about the women's reservation bill. Now, the point I wanted to get from you was that even
Can I
if
get
it
20
was
seconds?
Yes, Charu, I'll come back to you. If this bill was to be tabled, and of course the historic occasion would be that a new bill would be tabled in the new parliament, this could be a historic decision. That's something that the Prime Minister alluded to. If this bill gets tabled and gets passed, will the Congress party will be in full support of a bill like this?
See, first of all, let's see whether it is coming to the table or not, number one. Number two, for these 10 years, the BJP has been ruling. Why they kept quiet and they were mute on all these issues, on this important historic bill for all these 9.5 years? And now election time, they are introducing this bill. This is purely election gimmicks. And of course, if it is stable, then see, we have been, our main election manifesto is support the bill. You know,
Yes.
we want this women reservation at the parliament as well as in the legislative assembly. So, there is no question about it. But what my point of view say, very clear, this is for election gimmicks, they lost all the
Okay, Charu
grounds.
Pragya, I'll
There
give
is
you
no
30 seconds to
employment, there is no
respond so that I
power,
can go to my other guest after that. Charu.
So, the Honourable
Then you have
MP
to give
from the
it for me
Congress
also.
party talks about Manipur, but when the Prime Minister was speaking about Manipur, they staged a walkout. I don't think that was respectful, and then bringing it up now just exposes you for who you are. Now when you are also talking about elections, sir, remember we have elections in this country around the year. Every couple of months, somewhere or the other, we have elections. So please don't link every single developmental agenda to elections. It just sounds very feeble. Where can you not support something positive that the government is doing for once and not attach ifs and buts to it? Every single positive work of the government, it attracts unnecessary criticism, and none of this criticism is actually, of any value because it's not constructive.
Okay, Mr. Prasad, 30 seconds to you too. I have to go to my other guest.
Today what happened, when Honorable Prime Minister gave the address, was addressing about this historic 75 years in the Parliament building, for 90 minutes he was addressing, and we were all patiently listening to his monologue, because he never believes in dialogue or any questions from the other end. He never listens. A big leader, a good leader has to listen, but he failed in it. He is no decorum, zero manners, zero protocol, zero culture. See, after our Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, our leader, started speaking on this issue, he immediately walked out. Then see, he what is a big thing? He is the last day in the parliament. He talks about democracy and he talks about the legacy of this building. But he didn't have the patience to even listen to the prime opposition party. Then what is what democracy is talking about?
All right, I want to come back to the subject we're discussing today. Let me also bring in the other political parties' view. Let me go across to Samajwadi Party CA Pradeep Bhati, who is joining us. Samajwadi Party is one of those parties who have historically been seen to be opposed to the women's reservation bill. Yes, there may be some minutiae to be discussed there, but this time around, will the Samajwadi Party support the women's reservation bill?
Thank you, Shivani. Good evening to all. BJP's double standard will get exposed if the women reservation bill that is passed into the Rajya Sabha in 2010 is presented in the current form in the Lok Sabha special session. OBCs, SC, STs, minorities, communities are against this present form of women bill. BJP will vanish in Uttar Pradesh and in India. BJP ka supra saaf ho jayega if the suppressed class, deprived communities rights and reservation is compromised in this bill.
So you are saying that within the reservation, once again, let me clarify for our viewers. Once again, let me clarify for my viewers what you're talking about. Mr. Pradeep, just 1 second. I'm going to give you more time. Just 1 second. What you're saying is that if there is not a quota within the reservation for women, which is for SC, ST community women, then you will continue to oppose it, and if the BJP was to bring the bill in the form that it was presented in the parliament in the past without this quota within quota, then BJP will suffer. I just wanted to clarify that, right?
Yes, Shivani. just hear me out.
Yeah.
There is a landmark case. I'll just go through that landmark case about case of D. Devadasan versus Union of India. Justice Subbarao held that the reservation is not an exception to the fundamental rights, but a part and parcel of fundamental rights. He is also held that it will be without reservation there is no equality of opportunity. Right to equality will be meaningless if unequals are treated equally. See, Samajwadi Party is the only party in the history of Uttar Pradesh that has provided reservation for women, rural background, SC communities in the panchayat election. Don't forget that. Because of that, 50,000 women in the rural area deprived from the deprived class got elected from Pradhans in early 90s, and so on. This is the real empowerment and upliftment of women from the grassroots level. We have to understand that. Samajwadi Party and the Honorable Akhilesh Yadav strongly believe that women empowerment, whatever we have done in this part, is the testimony of our core values and what we stand for it, and we stand for it. Samajwadi Party from 2012 to 17 also in Uttar Pradesh executed multiple women friendly schemes and created best infrastructure of India pertaining to women's safety and security.
Okay, let's
So
not
we have
turn
to
this into
understand
Uttar
that
Pradesh
this thing-
versus the rest. We're talking about parliamentary reservations, and for the benefit of our viewers, as far as local governments or ground level governments are concerned, their local elections are concerned, there's been a reservation for women across India. It's not just about Uttar Pradesh. But Mr. Bhati, I want a very quick clarification from you before I go to our other guests. Is this a deal breaker for you? Unless there is a quota within quota, you will not support this bill if it was to be presented again in Parliament in this session?
See, Shivani, when you say quota under quota, it is sometimes it feels like we are doing injustice to the people from the rural background, the deprived class. So we have to understand that if we want really empowerment of women, we have to start from the grassroots that we did in the past.
Okay.
So these kind of model can only be, what is PDA? PDA is all about those uplifting those classes. Same reservation of PDA we are asking in this bill. What's wrong in that?
Okay.
BJP will get
There is
exposed.
also,
They
of
want
course,
only votes of backwards and the
Okay,
SC,
okay, but
communities.
Mr.
They will
Bhati,
not
aren't
vote
you
for that.
worried?
That
Aren't you
is
worried that
that is more painful?
No, but aren't you worried, Mr. Bhati, that the strength of parties like yourself is too low in the current parliament? And parties like the BJP, Congress, BRS, they are in support of the bill even without the changes that you are asking for. So this bill could very well become a reality despite your objections, and you would have to accept that.
See, numbers are always, you even can't consider us as a smaller one in numbers, but definitely when it comes to the power of Uttar Pradesh, it's much larger.
Okay,
When
all right.
they will be facing election in Uttar Pradesh, there will be 80 seats. There is a huge thing on the stake of Bharatiya Janata Party to implement, to present this bill in the present form. This will be a disaster for them. I want to assure them, if they bring this same current form bill and neglecting the rural class, the deprived class, the OBCs, SCs and the minorities, they will be a big
Okay,
disaster
all right,
for
sir.
them.
So
And
two
they
things
should
I
be
want to mention
assured
here,
about.
just for the benefit of our viewers. One, the number of seats that are reserved is going to be 33%, but those seats are ideally going to rotate. So it's not like it's going to be fixed which seat is going to be a women reserved seat. Those seats are going to rotate and change each session from session. And secondly, there are SC/ST reserved seats already as far as our parliamentary elections are concerned.
And what about OBCs and
Yes.
minorities?
Yes, there are already
And women.
SC/ST
And we are talking
reserved
about
seats as
SC/ST,
far as
not
our
women.
parliament is
There is no
concerned.
reservation for SC/ST
Sir, I would
women.
request you please not to speak over me. Please be patient. You've had your time. There are SC/ST reserved seats already in Parliament, and some of those will also be rotated from time to time. Some of them will fall under the women reservation, and others will not. I want to quickly bring in Khaliko Rahman of the BRS as well, also another party that certainly ahead of this session has been, batting for a women reservation bill. The BRS will be in full support if the government was to table this. Khaliko Rahman?
Yes, 100%. In fact, it is we who have been demanding for the introduction and the passage of the women reservation bill. And if you remember, in the month of March, our leader Kavita ji, in fact, staged a protest in Delhi in support of the women reservation bill. And we, in fact, and today also our MPs, in fact, staged
Yes.
at the near the parliament for the introduction of the bill. So, and one thing which we fail to understand that, because our Prime Minister said that it is going to be a special session. So, and still, what is the special agenda has not been revealed to the nation. So, when it just simply moving from the old building of the parliament to the new building cannot be a special occasion. Though we celebrate the occasion, but why the nation is being kept under dark when it comes to the introduction of the women reservation bill. And
Well, it's also to mark 75 years of Parliament.
No, absolutely. No, but I definitely, we definitely like to commend the efforts of Sonia Gandhi ji, because in 2010 she made an effort and she had passed this in the Rajya Sabha, but it could not go through in the Lok Sabha. But one good thing is there, that because if the bill is passed in Lok Sabha, it doesn't have to go to Rajya Sabha, because Rajya Sabha doesn't get dissolved. So that's the advantage you have got. And moreover, the draft is ready, so BJP doesn't have to really do any kind of homework for passing this bill, because the bill is already there actually. Okay, because there are few parties who have their own reservations with regard to this bill. But I think in totality, we are with this bill, and we will 100% support the BJP government for the passage of this bill, for the smooth passage of the bill.
All right, you made some objections about what is so special about this session and why did we need a special session just to move from the old Parliament building to the new Parliament building. I'll give Charu Pragya an opportunity to respond to that, but I want to bring in Professor Geeta Bhatt as well. As an academician and a female academician yourself, do you think the women reservation bill is an idea whose time has come, that finally we need to all come on board and make an effort to pass this legislation? Or do you think there are concerns still about, reservation per se?
Well, Shivani, I think, every idea has its own time, and probably in the 21st century, with the initiation of Amrit Kal, this could be one of the finest, bill which could be passed in the new parliament. That in itself could be historic. And yes, definitely, for very long, it was in 1996 when for the first time when the amendment was brought, and 1/3 of the seats in Panchayati Raj, they were reserved for women. And after that, there was a demand that even in the parliament, there should be a reservation of 33% for women. But we know that we have seen how the women, this particular bill for women reservation, it faced very stiff resistance. In 2010, though it was mentioned in your program that it was passed in Rajya Sabha, but it was never, it never saw the light of the day in the Lok Sabha. And we remember that, the kind of, hurling of very, 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 very sharp words and throwing of papers happened at that time. So much so, we know Samajwadi Party's, Mulayam Singh Yadav ji, though he's no more now, but he had made very controversial remarks at that time, saying that, rural women will not be benefited by it because they are not that affluent and attractive. Basically, very well hinting that women, it is not on their merit that they are, they are going to get to a position of being a parliamentarian, which was very, very objectionable even then and is even today. But the point is that, much water has flown through the gap then. And at present, yes, it is very important because as 50% of the population of this country, women need to be heard and need to be participative in the decision-making processes in this country. And for that, it is definitely very important that they should be politically represented. However, if you look at the bill which was introduced in 2010, like for example, there was this question being raised about reservation.
Yes.
Now, asking for a reservation within a reservation, one could, how the bill is going to be placed and the debate that will take place along with it. You see, there is already a reservation in terms of SC/ST in the parliament. So there could be 1/3 of those seats could be given to to the woman from the
Yes, like I mentioned,
SC and ST guy.
No, like I mentioned, there's
Right.
obviously a way to work around that. Yes, there are
Right.
legitimate concerns about SC/ST seats, but because all of these 33% seats are going to rotate, you could divide them equally. You could divide them in the proportional manner in percentage between the general seats and the SC/ST seats. Then it takes care of the concern that is being raised. Obviously, there are means and ways to do that.
Yes, definitely. And of course, there is one more clause which is many times discussed, and that is that, this reservation is going to cease after 15 years.
Yes.
Reservation for women. So that itself needs to be, discussed and deliberated, because you see, is 15 year why this timeline? Why is it that 15 years we feel will suffice for, in terms of, equality of participation.
So this is where I wanted to come in, and let me go across to some of our other panelists on this as well. Mr. Vishnu, I'm coming to you first. I want your thoughts and the Congress Party's thoughts on this, on what you think would be the ideal combination. So if you look at the number of women who used to contest, for example, for Lok Sabha from 1999 to 2019, that number has increased almost by 4 times, or at least, it has tripled, I can say that much, from 284 to 726. And out of which the number of women who won or the representation of women has also increased from 9% to 14.4%. So we have seen a gradual increase in the number of candidates that used to be put up and the number of female candidates who are winning those elections. So do you think that since the trajectory is already going upwards, a 15-year or a 3-term limit would be the ideal limit?
Go again. What is the question?
So there is a talk that there would be a 15-year limit if the women's reservation was to kick in. It would last only for 15 years. So that's roughly 3 terms. Do you think that would be the appropriate amount of time?
Okay.
To boost the number of women who participate in elections and win?
There should be no limit.
There should be no limit, you're saying?
No,
okay.
Why there should be a limit? No, there should be no limit as far as I am concerned. But first let this bill be introduced. We want this bill to be introduced first. Then after healthy discussion and debate, then this has to be passed. And I completely agree with the fact that women has to be participating in the serving the nation. And decision making also, the women has to be a main part. And Madam Sonia ji is very particular that women has to be given the full powers, and that we have already seen in the Congress Party from Indira ji. Then first speaker was Meera Kumar. Then she is not only women but also AC.
Okay.
Then Fatima Bibi, the first president. So, what Congress Party has been telling for all these decades, at least now, let's come together, and this bill is a historic bill, and due regards and due powers has to be given to the women fully, not for a namesake or rubber stamp, but due powers has to be given fully, and that will be ensured by the Congress Party.
Okay.
And we completely agree the fact that women are very important. Their voices has to be heard.
So this could be one of those rare occasions where there could actually be, a bipartisan support for a bill that we haven't really seen in a long time, where certainly the BJP and the Congress could come on the same page and bat for the women reservation bill. And I also wonder if there's going to be some credit war of sorts with the way things are going. But I'll leave that aside for a day when we actually see the bill being tabled. Charu, I'll also give you a minute on this same issue that I'm discussing. The representation of women, both in terms of how many women participate in the elections for Lok Sabha and how many of them are winning, is already going up. So, do you believe that given that context, there should be a time limit to a women reservation? Because ideally, we don't want reservations to last forever. The idea of reservations was always to be, a time-bound support so that you can bring everybody to parity.
Yes. And you're so right about that, Shivani, and this is my own personal opinion. See, the whole idea of reservation is to get to a place in society where reservations are no longer needed, and that's equality in its true sense. However, I will not comment on this on the party's behalf. That being said, I'm looking forward to what the next 4 days hold for us. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, not much that can be revealed even by the BJP right now. I do thank all of our guests for joining us. It's going to be interesting to see if and when this women's reservation bill gets tabled and what the stand of each party is going to be. I'm also getting some breaking updates coming in as far as the itinerary of day 2 of this special session is concerned. Remember, the special session will now officially move to the new parliament. MPs will gather at 9:30 a.m. for a photograph. A function is slated at about 11 o'clock in Central Hall. Sources say that Lok Sabha will convene in the new parliament building in the afternoon tomorrow, and Rajya Sabha also 1:15 and 2:15 respectively tomorrow. Discussion on India's Chandrayaan mission, which has been a successful one a few weeks gone by, is going to take place in Rajya Sabha tomorrow. Let me also go across to my colleague Payal Mehta, joining us with more details on this. Payal, tell us more.
Well, of course, what we're given to understand by way of sources that at about 1:15 tomorrow afternoon, after the entire process takes place to shift from the old to the new parliament building, the Lok Sabha will resume, and at about 2:15 is when the Rajya Sabha will resume. And tomorrow, listed for the rest of the day is a discussion on Chandrayaan. Remember, the mission Chandrayaan 3 was a huge success, not just India but the whole world looked India for the kind of success that our scientists were able to bring. So obviously, that discussion is likely to take place tomorrow, is what we're given to understand by way of sources.
So, Payal, this discussion is going to take place in Rajya Sabha. What happens in Lok Sabha tomorrow?
We will still wait for confirmation from the in terms of what they have put out in terms of the list of business. But tomorrow it's unlikely that some bill will come up because the government had already told the all-party meeting Reha that the legislative business will only happen between Wednesday and Friday.
Right. Payal, Shivani, this side, just stay with me. Just want to reiterate for the benefit of our viewers the breaking updates that we're getting. So there's going to be a photo op opportunity with parliamentarians at about 9:30 a.m. tomorrow, and there's going to be an event slated possibly for the official beginning in the new parliament. Tomorrow is also Ganesh Chaturthi, so auspicious day for a start. That's going to happen tomorrow at about 11 a.m. and as Payal Mehta is bringing us, around 1:15 the session will commence in Lok Sabha tomorrow and 2:15 in Rajya Sabha. Chandrayaan mission and its success could well come up as far as the debate tomorrow in Rajya Sabha is concerned. These are also some fresh visuals of the new parliament that we've accessed. Of course, all right, we will get some new visuals of the new parliament. These are, of course, visuals that came out earlier, and we're expecting that there will be a grand start to the new parliament building. Payal, a lot of the opposition voices today have been saying that what is so special about this new session, even though we are shifting from the old parliament building to the new parliament building, what does the government have to say on that? Because they're also expecting some surprises as far as this session is concerned.
Shivani, I try and ask multiple ministers that we met that what is so special about the session, but everybody seems to be smiling and just keeping a tight lip on the issue. And of course, with the visual, it's a very rare occasion that the government releases the visual of the cabinet, also putting a note saying that an important cabinet is underway. The suspense is only getting more and more, thicker. Why did you hold this?
All right, Payal, we're losing the audio with you. There is a picture that we've accessed, which is of the new parliament building. This is what it possibly looks like on the day. And this is going to be ready for inauguration effectively tomorrow, or at least the start of the sessions officially from tomorrow onwards. Although tomorrow is going to be more ceremonial is what we're getting to know, and the actual legislative business will only start from September 20. Some last minute preparations seem to be going on as far as the parliament halls are concerned, and tomorrow, as the information coming to us is saying, there will be a discussion on India's Chandrayaan mission in Rajya Sabha. We don't quite know what happens in Lok Sabha tomorrow, but it's unlikely to be any legislative business. On that note, we're slipping into a very short break. On the other side, we'll get you the latest as far as the Anantnag encounter is concerned. Remember, it's been ongoing for 6 days now. And we also have an exclusive conversation with former GOC of 15 Corps, KGS Dhillon, over why this encounter is taking so long. Stay tuned.
eat it on.
Another important issue that we have raised is the illegal arrest on false accusations on the opposition leader in the state of Andhra Pradesh, who is Chandrababu Naidu. Chandrababu Naidu has been a senior leader in this country. He has rubbed shoulders with one of the important people of this country. For 45 years he has been in the political system, and in these last 45 years never had he had any allegation against him. But just because Jagan Mohan Reddy wanted to throw mud on him deliberately because of political vindictiveness based on false allegations without any evidence, he has put a corruption scam on his name, and we are going to fight it out legally also. But we have demanded the central government to take cognizance of this issue, to take into account that the YSRCP government in the state of Andhra Pradesh is deliberately demolishing democratic institutions and trying to abuse the power that he has today, and trying to cut down the voice of the opposition. So this is something important not just for the state of the Andhra Pradesh but also as a country also. So that's why we have taken it up as an agenda item in the all party meeting also, and we are going to take it up in the parliament also tomorrow.
We want justice! 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 Save Andhra Pradesh! Save Andhra Pradesh! Save Andhra Pradesh! Save Pradesh! Save Andhra Pradesh! Save Andhra Pradesh!
आंध्र प्रदेश में जैसे आपने देखा है, हमारे नेता चंद्रबाबू नायडू जी को इलीगली अरेस्ट किया हुआ है। फॉल्स एविडेंस दिखाकर, कोई भी सबूत नहीं है फिर भी उनको अरेस्ट किया गया है। जगन मोहन रेड्डी जो अभी आंध्र का मुख्यमंत्री है, एक साइको की तरह व्यवहार कर रहा है आंध्र प्रदेश में। कोई भी ऑपोजिशन वाला आवाज उठाना चाहता है उनको जेल में डालने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। उसी के हिसाब से आज चंद्रबाबू नायडू जी को जेल में डाला है। तो इसलिए पार्लियामेंट सदन के बाहर हम लोग अपनी आंदोलन कर रहे हैं कि आंध्र प्रदेश में डेमोक्रेसी को सेव करना चाहिए। इसी के लिए हम लोग यहाँ पे आंदोलन के लिए खड़े हुए हैं। जरूर सदन के अंदर भी ये चीज उठाएंगे, क्योंकि निर्दोष है चंद्रबाबू नायडू जी। आज एक निर्दोष को इस तरह से जेल में डालना, अगर आज आंध्र में हुआ है, कल कहीं पे भी हो सकता है, कोई भी पार्टी में हो सकता है। अगर सच्चे लोगों को हम सेव नहीं कर पाएंगे तो ये भारत का भविष्य अच्छा नहीं रहेगा।
The leader of the opposition in Andhra Pradesh, Telugu Desam Party national president, has been illegally arrested and kept in the Rajahmundry prison without any evidence and without any proof. So we believe that it's an illegal arrest. We are moving the courts. Legal process is going on. But it's high time that the central government should take note of what is happening in Andhra Pradesh. We need to bring it to the attention of the public and to the government that this is happening in Andhra Pradesh, that this type of tragedy is taking place. And if there's no law and order in a state, it is a duty of the central government to step in and do something about it. Today, there's no law and order in Andhra Pradesh.
So, will you raise this issue inside the House?
Definitely, we'll try to get every opportunity possible to raise the issue inside the House and outside the House, and bring it to the notice of not only the government, but the people at large should know that this is a completely false case. His image is being tarnished for political reasons, and they're trying to paint him with the same brush as the current ruling dispensation.
Important issue that we have raised is the illegal arrest on false accusations on the opposition leader in the state of Andhra Pradesh, who is Chandrababu Naidu. Chandrababu Naidu has been a senior leader in this country. He has rubbed shoulders with one of the important people of this country. For 45 years he's been in the political system, and in these last 45 years never had he had any allegation against him. But just because Jagan Mohan Reddy wanted to throw mud on him deliberately because of political vindictiveness based on false allegations without any evidence, he has put a corruption scam on his name, and we are going to fight it out legally also. But we have demanded the central government to take cognizance of this issue, to take into account that the YSRCP government in the state of Andhra Pradesh is deliberately demolishing democratic institutions and trying to abuse the power that he has today, and trying to cut down the voice of the opposition. So this is something important.
Thanks a lot for staying with us. Let's get you the latest as far as the Anantnag encounter is concerned that has been on for 6 days now. Now, sources are indicating that a terrorist's dead body has been found near the terror hideout, but there is still no confirmation on this. The terrain is still slippery due to rainfall and many areas are inaccessible. A military drone is monitoring the area closely. The army has also mobilized special teams to neutralize the terrorists that are hiding in these mountains and especially the caves, etc. as well. Top army officers, including the Northern Army Commander, the GOC of 15 Corps and DGP of the Jammu and Kashmir Police have visited the area to get a first-hand account of the situation. Let me also remind you that on September 13, 3 officers, including a commanding officer, a major and the Jammu and Kashmir Police's DSP were martyred in this ongoing encounter. My colleague Ishan Vani is also tracking the latest as far as this battle is concerned. Ishan, what's the latest you're learning?
Well, yes, till the last reports there, but till when I was at the exact location, we have been still hearing gunfire. There have been rockets being lobbed at that particular location, and it seems like this gun battle is going to last more than 6 days now. This was the 6th day today, and it seems like the gun battle is ready to enter the 7th day with forces surrounding the area. We already know that what has transpired during all these days, where forces have brought in para. There are advanced troops who try to get close to the spot, but it's very difficult. Even when you speak to the locals, they say that they don't venture out in this mountain because it's steep and difficult to climb on. So they don't go with their, cattle to graze there, but they use an alternate area. This gives you an idea that even the locals don't venture out there, given the sort of topography that is there. The dense forest cover is covering that particular cave, and which is becoming difficult for the forces to actually attack that directly from a position where they can. But the drones are being used to monitor that particular movement, and since the movement has been spotted, forces saying that there could be 2 militants who could be hiding inside more. So yes, forces are trying to advance, but at the same time they want to keep safe and minimize the casualties, while at the same time trying to hit at those militants who are hiding inside that particular hideout.
All right, Ishan, thanks a lot for joining us with that update. As he mentioned, it's likely it will get into a 7th day now. Doesn't seem to be concluding today. So a lot of questions have been emerging as far as this encounter is concerned. One, causing so many fatalities and at the level that the fatalities came. And it has also been going on, as we mentioned, yet to be completed for nearly a week now. I pose some of these questions to the best man placed to answer them. Former GOC 15 Corps, Lieutenant General KGS Dhillon, who explains why things are the way they are.
What do you think is going on and why is this taking so long?
Thank you, Shivani, and good day to all your viewers. Such operations in these areas, it's a difficult area from the point of view of the visibility, the thick undergrowth, the line of sight is not clear, and there are broken rocky patches which can be used by terrorists to move from one point to another point, and they are re-entrants and high altitude areas. So the best way to conduct operation in these areas is to take your time, let the terrorist make a movement, and then engage him from the place where he can't see you and you can see him. Rushing into, after having cordoned the area, no terrorist inside your cordon, now rushing in can result in casualty to on troops, because on troops are more in number as compared to the terrorist, and if we make a movement, it can be heard. The dry tree leaves can make noise. So generally, the commanders on ground would take their time and engage the terrorists with different means so that there are no more casualties towards one side and the terrorist gets killed. In any case, he is inside the cordon, so he has to die.
as far as this operation is concerned? One, the number and the kind of casualties we have seen, and also as I mentioned, the number of days this encounter is going on. You feel that everything has been done to procedure? It's not like anything could have been done differently.
See, in the hindsight, we all can have opinions. But when the operation was planned, this intelligence about this hideout has been coming to the commanding officer and the company commander and the Jammu Kashmir police for some time. So, moment the intelligence got confirmed that yes, now we can launch. And let me tell you here, earlier days, the terrorists used to live off the villages. They used to come down to the villages for their sustenance, for their food, and even make hideout inside the houses and stay inside the villages. After abrogation of Article 370, since 5th August 2019, 618 terrorists have been killed. That means the terrorists are getting away from the populated areas because there is tourism coming. There are, you can say number of terrorists getting killed or more. The terrorist committed atrocities are reducing. The security forces footprint and civil administration reach is reaching. The civilians are earning more than they were earning earlier. The students are going to schools. So now the local population is not supporting the terrorists inside the village. As a result, they have been forced and pushed out of the villages. Now they are trying to stay inside the jungles and far-flung mountains hideouts. Having said this, the point which you are making, could this have been done differently? Now, once this intelligence was coming and hard hint was available that there is a hideout inside the jungle, as per what has been told to me, the teams walked 7 to 8 hours in these jungles to reach that hideout. It was a hard intelligence. Commanding officer and the Jammu Kashmir police realized it. The intelligence is worth it. That's how the commanding officer himself led the operations and the company commander and DSP. But when the operation went as planned, they reached the target area. They contacted the target area. Now, so far, everything was as per plan and everything was perfect. There's nothing wrong in the operation. They could walk 8 hours and go to pinpoint hideout. And when the contact happened, it is just unfortunate that the first volley of the fire, the first burst, got the command element. Probably all of them, having reached the objective area, were trying to strategize as to how now the ground is in front of you. Something would have been planned in the headquarters, in the operations room. Now, when the ground is in front of you, all the nalas in front of you, all the trees and everything is in front of you. Now you got to relocate or something, maybe modulate your plans. So once they were strategizing and they were together, that is where they got hit and the terrorists could get on them. Now, this does not mean the operation was not well planned. It is just that it was a bad day and that first bus got the command elements. It is just one of those bad days. It can happen in this type of a counter-terrorism operation areas. Every time you will not get success. Out of 100 times, one time there will be some setback. It is unfortunate that this time the setback was very heavy.
Sir, you served as the GOC 15 Corps, so you know inside out how these operations are done and obviously the terrain as well. I want to ask you another question that, through some unconfirmed reports, we have learned that when our soldiers suffered the injuries that they did, the medics could not get there, or they could not be taken out of that zone because the terrorists were firing on the helicopters as well. What do you make of the capability with which these terrorists seem to have attacked us, or they were holed up in these Pir Panjal forest range? And secondly, is it not a matter of concern that when some of our men take injuries, we are unable to take them out from the danger zone?
Shwani, these things I cannot confirm or deny because I do not know the ground realities. Intention is always to give the first aid moment a soldier is injured, so that we can avoid the excessive bleeding. It is always to save the life, give the first aid. Every soldier carries something called first field dressing. Moment you are hit, a gunshot wound or otherwise, the first thing is to stop the bleeding. Just shove the first field dressing inside the wound, tie it up so that the loss of blood is not there. Now, I do not know the ground situation. All these are, assumptions. But people on the ground would have done their best under the circumstances, under the operational conditions, to save maximum lives. Now, I do not have any inputs on why or hows of it. But otherwise, as per the SOP, as per the drill, every soldier carries the first field dressing. And the first and the foremost thing is to give the first aid, evacuate him to a safe place where a nursing assistant or a medical officer, if accompanying, whosoever is accompanying, they gave him little better medical treatment, and then he is evacuated to a little backward, where he can be either picked up by a helicopter or he can be taken to a place where ambulance can come.
But sir, my second question was about the capabilities with which these terrorists seem to be holed up. They seem to have, at least by some unconfirmed accounts, sophisticated weapons and enough weapons to sustain. Now, we do have some unconfirmed reports that the two terrorists have in fact been killed. It's just about locating their bodies and, getting a confirmation from the army. But your thoughts on the capabilities that these terrorists showed, and especially the weapons that they may have been carrying?
In the past also, the terrorists have been supplied by weapons from Pakistan Army and ISI, and some very sophisticated weaponry has been recovered even in the past. Even when, if you remember, when Amarnath Yatra was going on in 2019, and there were reports of terrorists trying to attack it, the M4 type of American rifles were available with them. Pakistani Ordnance Factory Claymore mines with the Pakistan Ordnance Factory markings were available with them. So there's nothing new that terrorists are having heavy weaponry, if at all. I don't know the details. But Pakistan has been supplying these terrorists in Kashmir with all the weapon systems which they can use. So notwithstanding that, Indian Army is capable of handling whatever weapons they may be using. And it's a matter of time. The commanders on ground probably are taking little longer so that they don't suffer any more casualties. Now that terrorists are within the cordon, it is a matter of time. They have to die. It's only when they make a movement, they will be taking a pot shot. One movement would create a situation where you are also exposing yourself to be hit. So that probably is the reason that commanders on ground are taking the decision of letting it, take a natural course. So taking time is not the worry. Worry would be if we lose more people or more jawans or officers.
Absolutely.
That is what is the responsibility of the commander on ground, not to lose more men. So let's not get unnecessarily concerned about the time it is taking. The commander on ground is doing the right thing by carrying out the operation as per his plans. Let's have faith in him.
No, absolutely. I said this on my show the other day also that, how much time it takes is irrelevant. But what hurts the most is losing our well-trained soldiers, and, their lives are more important than how much time it may take or what resources it may take. So my final question, you talked about how there was intelligence and how this was a seek and destroy operation. We seem to have gheraud the terrorists who were holed up in a certain location, and we seem to have good input on that. As a lay person, a lot of people would be wondering that why is it not possible to just bomb that place and eliminate the terrorists instead of going in, with the troops themselves?
Shwani, good you asked this question, because for a common person who is concerned about the safety and welfare of our soldiers, it's a very right question or doubt to have. As to if we knew the location, why didn't we bombard with some precision weapons or some precision guided ammunitions? I must tell you how the information comes. When the information comes, the source, who is generally a local person, in this case, he would come and tell you, sir, in those heights, about 7-8 hours of climb from here, in a nala on the left-hand side, there is a hideout next to a big boulder or behind the clump of trees. He would give this type of indications. These sources do not come with lat-longs. As if I have to reach a studio, you will send me the location. That will give me the lat-longs. I will reach exactly. But when the sources indicate the hideout to you, they do not give lat-longs. They do not have the lat-longs. They will give a general idea of a general area. Now, when you go on the ground, you have to locate that big boulder, the clump of trees, that nala, the re-entrant spring, say, itne meter dur, and all those things. So this is how the troops have to physically reach there, identify the location, fix that location. Then only something can be brought in with the precision. Now, once you are there and the fire has happened, your troops are in 50 to 70 meters of vicinity of that area with a zero visibility. Now, at that time, someone suggesting to use weaponry which has a danger area of 200 meters or 150 meters or 100 meters, when your own troops are within 50 meters. So the commanders on ground are the best people to decide. Now they're using the UAVs with grenades and explosives as per the information available on the open sources. That means now they've fixed that area and UAV can go to that area and drop that explosive and grenades. Now the UAV could not have gone to that area unless the troops had physically reached and pinpointed the location.
Namaste, Jai Hind and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anantnag. Ladies and gentlemen, it was all about the old parliament today and it will be about the entire parliament moving to the new building on Ganesh Chaturthi come Tuesday. But the big story, ladies and gentlemen, was Prime Minister Narendra Modi leading the discussion on 75 years in this parliament, where he started by saying that it was built by the colonizers, but the effort, the shram and the blood and sweat was of the